"I always knew you'd make the family proud," my mother whispered. But she wasn't talking to me. She was talking to Lily. I stood right behind them, wearing my deep blue graduation gown, the honors medal dangling from my neck. I had just stepped out of the honors row, about to walk across the stage to receive my degree. And yet, in a moment that was supposed to be mine, my mother still turned to my sister, the one who wasn't a student, who didn't even go to school here. The University of Michigan's commencement ceremony took place on a brilliant early summer morning. Flags flapped in the breeze. Speakers announced each graduate's name over the loudspeakers. People took photos, hugged each other, laughed like failure had never touched their lives. I stood next to my mom and sister, clutching the invitation in my hand, hoping for a simple congratulations. But no. My mother still looked at Lily like she was the crowning glory of her life. I remember every detail. Mom wore the purple dress she saved for important occasions. Her eyes sparkled, but they never sparkled for me. I wasn't jealous. I was used to it. It's just that I had always thought that if there was ever a day I could prove myself, it would be today. I was the first in our family to graduate with honors. I'd earned a full-ride scholarship my senior year, won the university's Financial Research Award, even delivered a speech on behalf of the student body to the board. I had done everything Lily never did, and I did it all on my own. No help, no roadmap. And still, when my name was called out in a stadium of nearly 10,000 people, my mother was bent down, tying Lily's shoelaces, just like she had always bent down to take care of my sister, even though Lily was 26 and perfectly capable. As I walked up to receive my diploma, the audience applauded. But I didn't look down at the family section. I didn't want to know if they were standing. I didn't want to see whether they were smiling. I just lifted my head, took a deep breath, and told myself, from this moment on, Olivia, you don't need anyone's validation. You stand on your own. And that was the moment I began an entirely different life. Not because someone clapped for me, but because I had learned to clap for myself. My name is Olivia and Harper. I was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan, in a family with 2 daughters. My sister Lily is 4 years older than me and was always our mother's greatest hope. And me? I was the quiet one, the obedient child, the easy kid. Words that sound gentle, but beneath them was a truth I understood early on. I was never the center of anything. My dad left when I was 7. He left the 2 of us with my mother, Elaine, a tough, anxious woman who believed her daughter's success was proof that she hadn't failed. But she only ever placed that belief in Lily. My sister was beautiful, charming, once crowned homecoming queen. Even without going to college, Lily had a natural magnetism that made people adore her, mom included. I was different. I liked books, spreadsheets, and silence. As a child, I would sit in the living room listening to Mom and Lily laugh in the kitchen, never daring to interrupt. I was praised for being well-behaved because I didn't make noise. I cleaned up after dinner without being asked. I got straight A's without encouragement. And I cried alone in the bathroom the year Mom forgot my 13th birthday. Eventually, I learned how to do everything by myself. I wrote my own scholarship applications, submitted my college forms, worked part-time to pay for my dorm. I didn't blame Mom. She had so much to worry about, but part of me still wished I could see her eyes light up because of me, just once. When I started college, I chose finance, not because I loved it, but because I knew it was a path to financial independence. A way to leave this shadow behind. I didn't dream of being a CEO or of becoming wildly rich. I just wanted, one day, to live in a small apartment, have my own desk, pay my own bills, and know that I didn't need anyone else to survive. I used to think that if I worked hard long enough, people would see. But I was wrong. Not every effort gets rewarded with recognition. And not every forgotten child stays silent forever. Some people are born with light. They walk into a room and heads turn. They say one simple sentence and the whole table bursts out laughing. Lily is one of those people. Back in high school, she was the center of attention. Mom used to tell the neighbors, "That girl doesn't even have to try, everyone loves her." Though she never went to college, Lily quickly landed a job at an ad agency through one of Mom's friends. She's never read an economics textbook, but somehow she could get clients to sign contracts with just a smile. Meanwhile, I spent years grinding through school, collecting credits, juggling jobs and assignments. I never gave Mom a reason to worry, but maybe that's exactly why I never gave her a reason to be proud. Every time I came home during break, Mom would ask, "Lily's been so busy lately, she just got promoted to team lead. And you? Do you need me to send you more money?" I'd shake my head, smile faintly. One time, I told her I'd been accepted into a highly competitive finance internship program in Chicago, hundreds of applicants, only a few selected. Mom just said, That's nice. But remember, you should also learn to dress more like Lily. Look successful." I was speechless. I used to think conflict in a family looked like shouting, arguments, slammed doors. But the truth is, sometimes conflict is just silence between people who were never heard. It's dinner conversations where your name never comes up. It's compliments you know will never be meant for you. I love Lily, but I can't deny she casts a very large shadow. Every time I tried to rise, I realized I was still orbiting a path that had already been drawn by her. Mom believed in Lily as if she were the blueprint for success. And I was just the prototype. If I didn't fit the mold, I'd always be not quite enough. I remember when I won a prestigious scholarship in my sophomore year and called Mom to tell her. She barely responded. "Yeah, but Lily just got featured in a magazine as a brand ambassador." I hung up the phone, held the certificate in my hands, and felt like it meant absolutely nothing. From that moment on, I started to understand. If I kept waiting for my mother's approval, I'd never get it. And I had to find a way to step out of Lily's shadow. Not to be better than her, but to become myself, fully, even if just once. On graduation day, I tried to pick a modest cream-colored dress and wore my hair neatly, hoping I looked more grown-up. I wanted my mom to look at me and think, "This girl is strong now." But deep down, I still hoped she'd say something nice, just once. The ceremony was held in a large auditorium, everyone buzzing with excitement. When it was my turn to walk across the stage, I heard my mother quietly exclaim from the audience, "There she is, Lily, look." I forced a smile. Then, as I was walking back to my seat, I caught her leaning over and whispering to Lily. Her voice wasn't loud, but clear enough since I was nearby. "If only you'd studied properly like your sister, maybe you'd be the one on stage today." I still regret it. I froze. My hand trembled slightly as I held the diploma. That sentence, it was like a small knife, sharp and deep. For the rest of the ceremony, I couldn't hear anything else. My eyes drifted over to my mom and Lily, chatting and laughing, unaware that I had heard everything. All that I had worked for over the past 4 years had only become a tool for my mother to scold my sister. To her, I was just a mirror for comparison, nothing more. I went home in silence. Lily took Mom out to celebrate. I sat in my room, placed the diploma on my desk, and stared at the words, Bachelor of Economics, Honors. It used to be my dream, but now it felt empty. That night, I didn't cry. I just felt a coldness settle in, not from her words, but from the truth I had just realized. I had spent my youth striving for something that my mother had never truly cared about. I wasn't angry at Lily. Maybe she never even realized how favored she had always been. But in that moment, I knew something had to change. I couldn't live my whole life in a game where I was only ever the tool. I had to leave my comfort zone. Leave this city. Leave my mother's expectations behind. I had to ask myself, if no one ever acknowledged me, would I still know who I am? Just 3 months after graduation, I landed an admin job at a major insurance company downtown. The starting salary wasn't bad. The office had cool air conditioning, and the coworkers were polite enough. Everyone said I was lucky, getting a job quickly and in my field. But every morning when I woke up, I felt like an alarm clock snapping on, brushing my teeth, going to work, coming home, eating dinner, watching TV, then sleep. No emotion. No motivation. No one asked if I was okay, not even me. I remember that night clearly. I had just gotten home from work and found Mom and Lily having dinner together, laughing as they looked through photos from Lily's trip to Paris last year. Mom tilted her head toward Lily and said, "Look at you, truly living life to the fullest. Your sister, though, she's so careful all the time, it's boring." It felt like someone had slapped me. Me, the one who studied hard, found a job early, never once made her worry, was boring. And Lily, the one who dropped out of college and failed at 3 business attempts, was the one enjoying life. That night, I sat alone and typed work and travel, Asia, into Google like someone who'd lost control. I didn't think much. I just wanted to escape, to get away from this house where every word from my mother felt like a hidden wound. 2 weeks later, I quit my job. I didn't tell my mom. I used my savings to buy a one-way ticket to Chiang Mai, Thailand, a place with rice fields, mountains, and quiet cafes where travelers could work remotely. My mom was furious when she found out. "You're quitting a stable job, leaving the US to go wait tables somewhere," she screamed into the phone. I said only one thing: I need to know what it feels like to live for myself. The truth is, I had no idea. I thought I was being strong. But looking back now, I see I didn't act out of a dream. I acted out of anger, pain, and a desperate need for my mother to notice me. It was the wrong decision. But also, it was the turning point I had to go through. When the plane landed in Chiang Mai, I felt something like freedom fill my lungs. No meetings, no deadlines, no mom, no Lily. I walked down cobbled streets, the smell of roasted coffee drifting by like a promise. Life is just beginning. I rented a small room on the 3rd floor of a hostel. White walls, a ceiling fan that buzzed, but the balcony overlooked misty mountains in the distance. I told myself, just find a small job, waiting tables, maybe teaching English part-time, that's enough. I'll start over. But life isn't like travel blogs. Work didn't come as easily as I thought. I sent out dozens of emails for English teaching, no replies. Cafes preferred locals or people who spoke Thai. I smiled awkwardly every time I got turned down, telling myself, it's okay, it's only the first week. By the 3rd week, I fell into the dumbest trap of my life. A Western man, around 40, long hair tied back, started chatting with me at a bubble tea shop. Said he was launching an ecotourism business and needed a partner. Just $1,500 to invest. I hesitated, but he showed me pictures of land, a basic contract, even a business card. And I believed him. Maybe because I wanted to believe, because I'd left my country, my job, my mother, and now I needed something to prove I was right. 3 days after I wired the money, he vanished. His phone was disconnected. The hostel said he had checked out the night before. I panicked. Opened my banking app, my balance was under $300. I collapsed in the hallway of the hostel's 3rd floor, my heavy backpack beside me. I didn't dare cry out loud. Just felt a deep humiliation seep through every part of me. That night, I had to ask the front desk if I could owe them for a few days. A German girl, volunteering at the hostel, sat down next to me, handed me a packet of instant noodles and a thin blanket. She didn't ask much. She just said, "We all do dumb things sometimes." I nodded, but inside, I was hurting more than ever. I hadn't run toward a dream, I'd run away from a comment. And I fell hard because of my own recklessness. And now here I am, a 23-year-old American girl. No job, no money, sleeping on the floor of a hostel in Thailand. I couldn't sleep that night. The ceiling fan hummed in a steady rhythm, footsteps shuffled in the hallway, and someone downstairs was murmuring in German. All these sounds stretched endlessly in my mind. The thin blanket couldn't keep out the cold, but what made me shiver wasn't the temperature, it was the raw truth. I had driven myself to rock bottom. At 3 a.m., I stepped out onto the balcony and curled up on a cheap plastic chair. Across the street was a late-night diner. An elderly Thai man was cleaning up, and an older white woman, probably in her 50s, was writing something in a leather notebook. Her hair was pure white, neatly tied up. The warm yellow light from the diner cast across her face, making every wrinkle tell a story longer than 1,000 words. I don't know why, but I crossed the street. I needed someone who knew nothing about me, so I could sit down without playing a role. I ordered a cup of hot tea. She looked up and nodded slightly. Then she spoke in English, her accent a bit unusual, maybe Australian. "You're freshly broken, aren't you?" I looked at her, about to laugh. But instead I nodded. I got scammed out of everything in Bali. I was 42, divorced, 2 kids, and I thought I had life figured out. Turned out I knew nothing. I let out a dry, tired laugh. "So, how did you get back up?" She took a sip of her tea, then looked straight at me. I stopped trying to prove anything. I sat down and wrote out everything I'd been avoiding. That I was afraid of being judged. That I hated seeing my friends succeed. That I regretted not listening to my mother. That I didn't know who I was without some kind of title. And when I finished writing, I realized I was still whole. I stayed quiet. "If you don't start with the truth," she said, "you'll never start at all." I looked down at my hands. They were trembling slightly. The next morning, I bought a blank notebook and a black ink pen. I started to write, not to tell anyone, but for the first time, to be honest with myself. After a sleepless night, I sat by the window, phone in hand. A tightness filled my chest, like an invisible wall stood between me and the one person who once understood me better than anyone, my mother. It had been years since I last called her. Not because I didn't miss her, but because too many hurts and unspoken words had left me choosing silence. Our lives had diverged, taken separate paths. Every time I thought of her, the words caught in my throat. But last night, the woman's words echoed in my mind. "If you don't start with the truth, you'll never start at all." And the truth was, I needed my mom. I needed something solid to hold on to. I dialed her number, my chest tightening as the ringtone rang in my ears. My heart felt like it would burst. "Mom, it's me," I said hoarsely, uncertain. On the other end, her voice cracked. "You? Why has it taken so long to call?" I fought back tears, my voice shaking. "I know. I've made you sad. But I want to start over. Can I, Mom?" She paused for a moment, then said gently, "My daughter, I've always been here. I've been waiting for this call." That phone call wasn't just a reconnection after years of silence. It was like a lantern lighting the path ahead. I felt the power of forgiveness, of truth. It was the turning point I needed to stop running from the past and begin rebuilding my life. That call with my mom lit something deep inside me, a dormant energy, finally stirred awake. I realized that no matter how wounded the past had left me, the future was still in my hands. But how do you start over when everything feels like it's collapsed? I understood that I couldn't fix everything overnight. I had to begin with small, steady steps. The very next day, I drew up a new budget, cutting unnecessary expenses, habits I had never paid much attention to before. I started learning personal finance from the ground up, tracking every expense, setting a clear monthly budget, and creating savings goals. I signed up for online courses on investing and financial planning to build up my knowledge. Each day, I carved out time to read books, watch videos, and join support groups for people trying to rebuild their lives. Slowly, confidence started replacing the confusion and fear I had carried for so long. I knew the road ahead would be long and hard, but I was determined, not to get rich quickly, but to take small steps toward stability, toward rebuilding a solid financial foundation and a sustainable life. Every morning, I told myself, each small step today will be the foundation for tomorrow. And I believed it. With persistence, the day would come when I could face the future with confidence, without being haunted by the wounds of the past. Even with determination and those first small steps, the road ahead was far from smooth. Real life kept testing me, like a relentless press squeezing out every bit of hope. I faced a series of unexpected challenges. First, my job paid too little to allow me to save up quickly. Every month, I had to calculate every penny just to cover my living expenses and still try to save. But unexpected costs often threw me into financial stress. And beyond the money struggles, the emotional weight was exhausting. I felt alone on this journey. Friends and family didn't always understand what I was going through. There were nights I lay awake, paralyzed by worry and fear, sometimes even doubting myself. Furthermore, the legal procedures and paperwork involved in the divorce and asset division only made things more complicated. I had to spend a lot of time dealing with legal issues I never imagined I'd face, which left me feeling drained and tempted to give up. But despite the seemingly insurmountable challenges, I made a decision not to collapse. Each obstacle became a lesson, a chance for me to grow stronger and more resilient. I learned how to adapt, understood my own limits, and found the courage to ask for help when I needed it. The continuous hardships didn't stop me. Instead, they gradually forged me into someone more courageous, someone who knew how to hold on to hope even in the darkest moments. Just when everything seemed completely shattered, when I felt alone and too exhausted to keep going, an unexpected helping hand came, like a light shining through the dark. It wasn't from family or old friends, but from a new coworker, someone I had previously seen as just an ordinary person at work. He was a middle-aged man who had also faced financial and family difficulties. When he learned about my situation, he not only listened but also took time to guide me on how to manage my finances, plan my spending, and, most importantly, he introduced me to several reputable financial advisors. His practical advice and support gave me the strength to believe that I could rise from the lowest point in my life. He also encouraged me by sharing his own personal stories about failures he had endured and how he overcame them. His sincerity, empathy, and willingness to share brought me tremendous comfort and motivation. For the first time in months, I no longer felt alone in my fight. This help went beyond finances or planning. It was emotional strength that helped me reevaluate myself, recognize my own worth and abilities, even after life had thrown its harshest trials at me. It was a small but deeply meaningful push that opened a new chapter in my journey to rebuild my life. I realized that in the moments of deepest despair, the support of others can become the foundation that helps us stand back up. And I also learned that there's no shame in opening up and accepting help when it's needed. It's not a sign of weakness, but a way to empower yourself. After receiving that valuable guidance and support, I understood that no one else could overcome this hardship for me. It had to be me. Support helps, but in the end, every change must come from my own effort and determination. I started with the smallest steps, learning to manage every single dollar, creating detailed monthly budgets, cutting unnecessary expenses, and recording every bit of income and spending. This gave me clearer control over my finances, replacing fear and confusion with confidence every time I opened a bill or checked my bank account. Next, I began to educate myself on smarter investing. I didn't have much money to take risks, so I focused on safe, long-term investments, slowly building an emergency fund. Every dollar I earned was carefully calculated to maximize its potential. At the same time, I committed to learning new skills and staying updated on financial knowledge and technology so I wouldn't fall behind. I took online courses, read books, and dedicated more time to personal development. The early days were incredibly tough. There were moments when I felt overwhelmed and wanted to quit. But I constantly reminded myself that each small step I took today would lead to greater change in the future. I learned patience and perseverance, knowing that there is no easy road when starting over from nothing. Through that self-reliance, I gradually regained both confidence and financial stability. Each small success, each bit of savings I managed to put aside, was proof of my relentless effort. And more importantly, I discovered a deep inner strength that no matter how unexpected or cruel life might be, I could still stand tall and keep moving forward. Once I had a more solid financial foundation and better knowledge, life started revealing opportunities one had never seen before. Rebuilding from scratch didn't just make me financially stronger, it gave me a whole new perspective on the future. One of the most important things I learned was how to recognize and seize opportunities. Instead of focusing only on past pain, I began looking ahead with optimism and purpose. Old relationships that I thought were lost became meaningful again once I opened my heart and reached out. I started searching for new jobs and joining projects that matched my skills and passions. I also discovered hidden strengths I'd never fully explored before. Soft skills like communication, time management, and financial know-how became major advantages, helping me establish my position in a new workplace. I learned to work smarter, using time efficiently to balance both career and personal life. Along this journey, I met many new people, others who had gone through hard times and were also searching for their own version of success. They became sources of inspiration and also partners, colleagues, and friends who expanded my network and opened up even more possibilities. New opportunities began to appear in various forms. From more stable income, to small yet profitable investments, to side projects and small business ventures I gradually became part of. All of this made the journey of rebuilding my life richer and more meaningful. Most importantly, I realized that the hardships I'd endured weren't an end, but a launching pad, pushing me to become stronger and more insightful. And these new opportunities, no matter how small at first, became vital stepping stones, bringing me closer to my goals of financial independence and personal freedom. In the process of rebuilding my life and finances, I still stumbled and made mistakes. But from those very mistakes, I gained invaluable lessons, ones no book or advice could ever truly replace. First, I learned that failure isn't a bad thing, it's an essential part of growth. After every failure, I took time to reflect what caused it, where I went wrong, and what needed to change. That self-assessment helped me avoid repeating past mistakes while developing critical thinking and the ability to self-correct. Another important lesson was about patience and perseverance. Success doesn't come overnight, and failures are simply tests of will. I learned to accept that everything takes time to stabilize and that it takes persistence to get through temporary hardships without losing faith in myself. Failure also taught me to manage risk more intelligently. I no longer rush into investments or decisions like I used to. Instead, I take the time to research thoroughly, consult experts, and develop backup plans for every step I take. Thanks to that, even when I face difficulties, I'm able to maintain a minimum level of financial security that prevents total collapse. Most importantly, my past failures have made me more humble and sincere with myself and those around me. I've come to understand that no one is perfect, and being able to admit mistakes and learn from others is the only path to growth. As a result, I've built stronger, more lasting relationships. My loved ones and friends trust me and are willing to support me when I need it. Looking back, if I hadn't gone through those hardships and failures, I wouldn't have the depth of maturity and insight I have today. Each lesson learned from failure has been a brick in the foundation of a more stable future, a life I'm proud of, no longer afraid of challenges. Without perseverance and determination, I might have collapsed under the weight of obstacles that once seemed insurmountable. Those two qualities have been the most crucial in helping me rise after every failure, continuing forward on my journey to rebuild both my life and finances. Perseverance isn't just about enduring hardship, it's a mindset of never giving up, no matter how tough the road gets. During my darkest days, when finances were tight and my spirit was low, it was perseverance that kept me from falling into despair. It allowed me to see a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel. Determination is an inner strength, a burning passion that pushes me to take action every day. It keeps me from backing down in the face of social pressure, judgment from others, or fears about the future. I've realized that only I can change my life, and that's why I keep pushing forward, relentlessly. The combination of perseverance and determination helped me build positive habits, saving every penny, learning new financial knowledge, creating smart investment plans, and most importantly, maintaining a hopeful mindset. I once heard the saying, "Perseverance is the key that unlocks success," and my personal journey has proven just how true that is. Things didn't always go smoothly. There were times I wanted to give up, to walk away and seek comfort. But I kept reminding myself, giving up would only take me back to square one, while perseverance is the only way to get closer to financial freedom and true happiness. I believe anyone can transform their life if they have enough determination and perseverance. The path may be long and difficult, but if you keep moving forward one step at a time, the rewards will come not just in wealth, but in freedom, joy, and inner peace. After all the trials, the months of hardship, and relentless effort, I can clearly feel how much I've grown. The wounds of the past, the pain from divorce, and even the financial shocks no longer weigh me down. Instead, I now stand with a new perspective, confident, resilient, and ready to embrace the future. I know the road ahead is still full of uncertainty, but this time, I'm no longer afraid or confused. I've learned how to take control of my life, how to manage my finances, and how to rebuild myself in a sustainable way. More importantly, I've rediscovered my self-worth, self-respect, and belief in my ability to overcome anything. The journey of rebuilding life doesn't end with a single event. It's a long process, a path of continuous learning, growth, and transformation. I no longer look at the past with regret. Instead, I feel grateful because it was those exact hardships that shaped who I am today. Now, I've begun setting new goals, not just financial, but also for my health, family, and emotional well-being. I've realized that financial freedom only holds meaning when it comes with happiness and balance. I'm determined not to let the difficulties of the past keep me from living a full, meaningful life. Walking forward with confidence on this new journey, I feel as if I've been reborn not as someone who once fell, but as a strong, seasoned warrior filled with hope. I believe that no matter what the future holds, I'm ready to face it and shape life on my own terms. As I started rebuilding my life, I realized that it wasn't just about regaining financial or career stability. It was also about restoring the deep connections I'd lost, with myself and with the people around me. In those painful years, I had unintentionally drifted away from who I was and missed out on countless precious moments with family and friends. Now, I'm committed to not letting that happen again. First, I've been spending more time listening to myself, my thoughts, my emotions, and even the seemingly small desires that are essential for inner peace. I've learned to accept myself, scars and all, and from that acceptance, I've nurtured a spirit that's stronger and more hopeful. Reconnecting with myself has recharged my energy and brought clarity to my sense of purpose. At the same time, I've made an effort to mend relationships that had been neglected or fractured for too long. I've taken time to meet up, talk, and share with family and friends, people who have always been my greatest source of encouragement and strength. Every conversation, every hug, every shared laugh has made life feel warmer and more meaningful. I've also learned how to forgive, not just others, but myself. Forgiveness has helped me let go of guilt and pain and open my heart to new possibilities. In doing so, my relationships have grown deeper and more lasting. I've come to understand that true success and happiness aren't just about money or material stability. They're about being able to connect honestly and lovingly with the people we care about, and about living authentically. This has become the solid foundation on which I continue my journey, fueled by hope and belief in a better tomorrow. After everything I've been through, I'm no longer afraid or discouraged by life's upheavals. Instead, I feel a new strength within, a deep conviction that I can rebuild a better life. That belief doesn't come from luck or chance, but from a long process of learning, persistence, and truly absorbing the lessons of the past. I've started building a clear and realistic plan for myself, one step at a time, toward a more stable and peaceful future. I've defined specific financial goals, from consistent saving and smart investing to mindful spending. Alongside that, I've set goals for health, personal growth, and meaningful relationships. Planning gives me a sense of direction and control over my life, easing anxiety and fear. Every day, I review my progress, make adjustments when necessary, and continue strengthening my resilience. I've also opened myself to new opportunities, whether in work, learning, or social connections. Instead of avoiding risk or fearing failure, I now see every challenge as an opportunity a springboard for growth and self-improvement. With a clear plan and unwavering faith, I've turned painful setbacks into fuel for my rise. Looking ahead, I no longer just dream of a peaceful life. I'm ready to face any challenge with resilience and optimism. I understand now that the future will always be uncertain, but it's how I prepare for it and respond to it that ultimately determines my success and happiness. From all the heartbreak and loss, I've learned the most valuable lesson of all. Life always offers a second chance, as long as we never give up on our faith and our own efforts.